welcome back to the revision series. It's another episode on mathematics. Today we're going to talk about how to simplify fractions. Now, fractions in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 and beyond are a huge part of the curriculum in mathematics. Simplifying fractions, just one part of that, but actually once you know how to simplify fractions, it's applicable to arithmetic questions, word problems, and it's going to help you in more complicated fractions work in general. So it is a fundamental skill. So I'll talk through today how we're going to do that. Our aim is to make the fraction as close to what we call a unit fraction as possible. Now, a unit fraction just has one of something. So our numerator is 1 out of 3 pieces here. 1/3 is a unit fraction because you have one piece out of 3, as opposed to any other fraction with a different numerator than 1. 2/6 would actually be the same as 1/3. I'll talk through the method about that in a second. But we describe it as 1 out of 3 pieces. That's what a fraction is. It's telling you it's 1 out of the 3 pieces that we've got. Once you've got to a unit fraction, if you can get to a unit fraction, it's not always possible, they can't be simplified any further. So just so you know, that's the aim. And just to remind everybody that the number on top of a fraction is known as the numerator, and the number on the bottom of the fraction is the denominator. So you've got two options in simplifying a fraction. You can either half what you've got. If you just can't think of what to do else, just keep halving it and see how far you can get. Or you can divide by the numerator. Sometimes you can halve it. Sometimes that won't be an option to you. Dividing by the numerator will almost always be an option to you. But I'll show you the two different routes to the same answer here. So we have our starting fraction, 4/16. So that is 4 out of a possible 16 pieces. Whatever we're talking about is broken into 16 bits. That's our denominator. And we're talking about 4 of them currently. Now, if we're going to do halve it, we would divide 4 by 2, leaving 2. And we divide 16 by 2, leaving 8. Great, that's fine. And when you do the half it method, just see if you can keep doing that. So again, we can halve it again. 2 in half is 1. 8 in half is 4. And you'll notice we've got down to a unit fraction here. We've got down to 1/4. So we know we've simplified it as far as we possibly can. Can't do anything more. Once we've got to a 1 on our numerator, that's it. Fully simplified. We can skip a step here. If we did divide by the numerator, remember the numerator is the number on the top. It's the number of pieces we're actually talking about. And if we divide both of them, so we've got 4/16, not sure how easy that red is to see. We've got 4/16 and we divide both of those by 4. So divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And whatever we do to the top, we must do to the bottom to keep the fraction in the same proportions. So 16 divided by 4 is 1. So you've got 1/4. So you can see there that actually dividing by the numerator skips a step. We still end up at the same answer, 1/4 there, and we've still got 1/4 there. But if you run out of ideas, you can halve it. And if you want to skip straight to divide by the numerator, that more often than not works. Look at another example here. We have 3/30ths as our fraction. Can be simplified. Problem is we can't halve it, because if we were to halve it, we'd end up with a decimal on top. We can't do that. We'd end up with 1.5 over 15. We can't have any kind of decimal, so we can't halve it. It's not an option for us in this example, but we can divide by the numerator. So 3 divided by 3, let's put it in brackets really, it's 1, and then you've got your 30 underneath. Must do to the bottom what you do to the top to keep the fraction in the same proportion. 30 divided by 3 is 10, and then your final answer is 1/10. And you know you can't simplify it any further because you have a unit fraction. You have one piece out of 10. Can't make it any more simple than that. Final example here, in simplifying fractions, halve it or divide by the numerator. We do the halve it approach. Half of 12 is 6. Half of 36 is 18. Can get a bit tricky if we're not too slick on our arithmetic. Can we halve it again? We'll have a go. Half of 6 is 3. Half of 18 is 9. And this is where we can get into a bit of trouble because this is simplified but not fully simplified. So I'll pause there. We'll try here. Divide by the numerator. Divide both by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. And then 36 divided by 12 is 3. So you'll notice you skip right to the final answer of the unit fraction. If we do our halve it method, or half it method, we get only so far. We can get down to 3/9, and you might be forgiven for thinking, oh, I can't simplify any more than that, but you can. And now actually we do need to divide by the numerator. So we know in our head that 3 and 9 are both in the 3 times table, so we're going to divide them both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And we get to that final answer. So half it is good. It's a better option if you can't think of what else you need to do, basically. I need to get started, I'm just going to try halving it. But really, divided by the numerator is your better option. Let's move on to an actual SATs question here, which is tick the fractions that are less than 5/8. Now, there's an extra step here because we need to really apply what we know already. So it's not always about simplifying it, but we need to make all these denominators the same because you've got a denominator of 2, 1 out of 2. You've got a denominator of eighths here. Okay, fine. You've got a denominator of quarters here, denominator of 16 and denominator of 32. Now, you can't compare fractions unless the denominators are the same. Difficult to know what's bigger than what. So make everything the same. So we've got a half here. I'm trying to turn it into eighths. So now I've got 2, so I'm going to multiply both bits by 4. That way, my denominator turns into 8. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. So we've got 4/8 at the top, and we can tick a fraction because it's less than 5/8. Tick. Next one down, is it less than 5/8? Well, it's 2/8, so we don't need to do anything with it. Tick. Next one's currently the denominator's in quarters. What do I need to do to make that eighths? Multiply both by 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. Tick the fractions that are less than 5/8. I'm not going to do anything with that one. Got to change 16ths into eighths. So I then need to divide by 2. That would give us a denominator of 8. And it would give us a numerator of 3.5. We can't really say that, but it gives us an equivalent that is less than 5/8. So we can tick that one. And then the final one here, we're into 32 as our denominator. We need to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 4. 32 divided by 4 is 8. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 6/8 is not less than 5/8, so we're not doing anything else. You'll notice we've got eighths, 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 eighths. So taking that first step to set yourself up and making sure your denominator matches what the question's asking for, then you can answer it. Don't start guessing and thinking, oh yeah, 3/4, that's pretty much going to be, I don't know. Work it out for yourself. Do the workings out on the paper or on the question, and then you can safely answer the question. That's just 2 marks. So really worth taking the time, but it only took about 60 seconds or so to do it. Key things to remember: learn your times tables. If you learn that, division and multiplication, no problem. It will help you in every area of maths. This is such a key thing. Halve it or divide by the numerator. This is kind of the best thing you could be doing, but half it if you run out of ideas or times tables knowledge is not quite there. And then do the same operation to the top and the bottom. So what I mean by that is if you're going to divide the numerator by 2, you need to divide the denominator by 2 as well. Stick to that, and you should be on the way to learning how to simplify fractions. I will do lots more on fractions, adding fractions, multiplying fractions, dividing fractions. There are so many more kind of lessons and revision guides. But for now, that is how to simplify fractions. My annoying thing that can stick in your head is half it or divide by the numerator. Hope that helps. See you all soon.